winning is a lifestyle that you live day in and day out. It's not just this one event at one given time that comes with this particular status. It is a daily thing. And just because you didn't win in your career or your relationship that day doesn't mean you can't win in your finances, whatever other area you have in your life.
Hey, Uncommon Leaders, welcome back. This is the Uncommon Leader Podcast. I'm your host, John Gallagher. Today, it's about time to come up clutch. We're going to have an interview with a friend of mine now, and we've had a chance to chat beforehand in a couple of different ways. I'm pretty excited. J.R. Reed, he's a TEDx speaker. He is a pro and executive coach for those in the sports world, and I'm looking forward to hearing some about that and beyond. And ultimately, he's going to tell us about the unwavering belief that you're just one win away from something. Now, you're going to have to wait and listen in to what the answer to that one thing is. But I know that he's going to talk about how we deal with pressure. He's going to talk about how we deal with life. And he's going to do it in a way that's going to bring a lot of energy to the listeners of the Uncommon Leader Podcast. So, J.R. Reed, welcome to the Uncommon Leader Podcast. How you doing today?
John, it's great to be here, my man. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well, and I'm excited about our conversation. And I'll start you off with the question that I always start my first-time guests. We have a lot of fun with this question, and it can conjure up a lot in terms of connecting in. But what's a story from your childhood that still impacts who you are today as a person or as a leader?
Man, this is a fun question. So here's my disclaimer. My disclaimer is I had great parents. I grew up in a great home, two wonderful parents. They loved me to death. So I got to put that disclaimer on. But one day as a kid, I don't know. Something must have happened between my dad and I. I got him really mad. And I just remember crying hysterically. And I must have been, I don't know, 10 years old. But back then, now I'm dating myself, I went down to my counter in the kitchen at my childhood home, and I opened up the phone book that my mom had written down all the addresses and phone numbers, and I found my Little League coach. I found his name and his number, and I went, turned to the left, picked up the phone with the cord, you know, those things we used to have, and I called him, hysterically crying. I said, "Coach, I just got this fight with my dad, and this and that, right?" And he just listened. And then he coached me on how to handle myself in that moment, and then how to handle my dad in that moment. I'm so glad you asked this question, because I haven't like gone back to that moment in a very, very long time. And that is why I do what I do today. It's because, you know, I believe every single person needs that one person, that one coach that they could call when life feels like it's just hitting them so hard, and they need to get out of their own way in that moment, and they need to get prepared in a way to move forward so they don't stay in that moment. And honestly, John, I mean, that's what you do. That's what I do. Like, that moment will stick with me until I'm 6 feet under.
You know, boy, there's so much that I love about that story. One is just thinking about 9 and 10 and some of those stories with my dad as well. I did play sports also. I can't imagine calling up that baseball coach, if you will, but it is that 3 a.m. friend that we need today. That we got a problem, man, and we need someone that we can call who's going to be there. And if we said, "I need you to meet me here tomorrow at my house, and we need to go through this because I'm really struggling with it," that they drive 6 hours to make sure that happens, kind of thing, or they get on an airplane and be there for you. You know, I just had a recent situation where my dad's passed a couple months ago, and, you know, you find out ultimately who he's impacted in his life, but also those who have been close to you. And having two of my dear friends surprise me at the funeral home to come and support me, one who flew in and one who drove hours in, Those are those individuals, those phone numbers in the phone book that you need to be able to count on when your future. Love that story and sharing it and understanding it. And then there's the old cord on the telephone. So how
Oh, come
long
on,
was
man.
your cord? Could you stretch into the other room to be secretive?
Yeah, hey, that was my mom's phone, man. And this little short Italian, that thing could stretch. I felt like it could stretch to the next neighbor's house. That thing was so long. But yeah, I was just like, Mom, why do you need this long of a cord for
Yeah.
crying out loud? Yeah, it was fun.
There's so
That's
many
so
things to talk
people.
about. Just hold it down so it spins and spins and spins till you get it and
Yeah.
it's not tangled up anymore. So
People
cool.
wonder why I became such a great athlete is because when I came downstairs and went into the kitchen, the cord was stretched from the wall to where she was sitting, and I had to do hurdles all the time over the over the cord while she was having her coffee and coffee cake, man. It was fun times
So
back in the
good.
day.
So good. Well, hey, it's going to be great to have a conversation with it, but I want to start you off a little bit what I chatted about in the kickoff, and that was this statement that opens up your bio. You say we're one win away from a completely different blank.
Yeah.
So, what is it that we're one win away from, and ultimately, how do you use that philosophy in your coaching today?
Well, it's really fill in your own blank. As athletes, and I found this both when I played as an athlete, and obviously I'm fortunate to get to work with the highest level of athletes now and highest level executives. And we get so caught up on the big win, like the World Series or the Super Bowl or the $15 million deal, whatever. We get so caught up on the big deal that when we have a win, we don't realize that it's a win and that it's fueling forward progress and momentum. And that's just it. I found when we're focused on the big thing so much, and then we realize where we're at today and we see this big gap, it's almost like, oh, shoot, I'm failing. Oh, shoot, man, I'm never going to get there. Huh, do I even have enough to get? Like, it's all of those thoughts. And that's why I say, hey, look, you're just one win away from more momentum towards filling that gap, towards, you know, closing that deal, towards crossing that goal line. So it's something I've said over and over again because, John, I feel like we're overlooking the power of the win
Mm.
instead of this massive win that we think we need to feel great, to look great, and to feel like we're making progress.
I love that. I think about that because when I coach individuals now, the first question I ask them in their template each coaching call is, "What's been your biggest win since we last talked?" And so many times you talk about that, they're looking for that outcome that they talk about, and they're like, "Oh, I landed a new job that was worth, $5 million for us as a company, or I was able to complete this event in 47 minutes instead of 25, or whatever that is." And so when they think about that big win, too many times they're like, "I can't really think of a win over the past 2 weeks."
Exactly.
And we're like, "No, no,
I
no, come
so
on."
I've by the way, I've eliminated that adjective. And
Mm,
period. Like so, I like you caught myself all the time asking, "Hey, what's been a big win this week?" Or
yeah,
"What's your top three?" Or whatever. I just
yeah,
stopped, and I was like, "Hey, I'm just curious, what win you got this week?"
yeah.
And it's shifted, especially for my longtime clients. It's shifted from the big thing to like, man, I got to walk around the block with my daughter this week.
Amen.
That's a huge. See, I almost said it. Huge win. That's a win. So that's what I'm saying. That walk around the block with your daughter, that's what I'm talking about. That's a win. You're one win away. That walk puts you that
Mm.
much closer to whatever success you want to have in whatever arena, even with your daughter in this case, because you were there, you were present, and that win fueled you. It fueled your soul, it fueled your brain, it fueled your body. And I'm telling you, that's just how momentum works. You know this as an athlete, John. We got that fuel. Gosh darn it, we're going to be more prepared to be a better husband, father, leader, wherever the case may be. Fill in your own blank.
Fill in your
Fill in
own
your own
blank. I
blank.
love that. Fill in your own blank. And that is so cool. I just finished reading a book, and I know, we are readers to say the least. And it was written by a Navy SEAL, and he talked about Hell Week a little bit within that. And he was on one of the teams that took care of Osama bin Laden at the
Mm.
time. But he said, if I had to look at Hell Week and I only looked at the win was to get through Hell Week and not quit, I would have quit on day one. And he talked about the exercise of when they lay down on the beach arm in arm with each other, and they don't know how long they're going to have to take that cold water on over and over again. He says, I just had to change the horizon of the wind, bring it in closer. He said, I just need to get through the next 5 waves. And
Yeah.
that's the win. And let's celebrate that win and understand what that is. That helped me so much just before. The timing of it was perfect. I don't think it was accidental before I did my first Spartan race. And, just don't worry about getting to the end of the race. Just get to the next obstacle and work your way to the next obstacle and then assess that. It's so cool. I love that fill in the blank as you talk about it. You mentioned, and a lot of times we put pressure on yourselves. That's a big part of what you coach is thriving under intense pressure.
Mhm.
Navy SEALs are under intense pressure. What's your take on pressure and how that impacts how we celebrate our wins?
Yeah, it's rare. I mean, it's real, not rare. It's not rare. It's every day, multiple times a day. It's real. It's real. Now, is it unrealistic sometimes? Yes. Is it overpowering sometimes? Yes. But again, people want to talk about pressure all the time. And, I got in this conversation with one of my Major League Baseball players. And he was talking about the P word, as we call it. And I said, man, like, what is it? And he's like, yeah, man, well, I got my family now and I got my kids and I just signed this big contract. And like, he was just going on and on and on and on and on and on. I said, interesting. What about the game? And he goes, what? I said, yeah, what about the game? You're you're playing baseball, right? I said, yeah, you haven't mentioned anything about baseball yet. And you should have saw the look on his face. It's almost like he had an epiphany.
Hmm.
I said, do you realize you're focused on all of these other things that have nothing to do with you playing the game? He goes, whoa, 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 wait. Yeah, they do. Because if I don't perform, then I can't put food on the table. Then I can't live this lifestyle. Then I can't, then I can't, then I can't. I said, seems like we found the root of your pressure. John, to me, and again, this is not like we just flip a switch and it's there. A lot of this is in the reframe. A lot of this is in our perspective. And this is why I'm so big on focus. I basically tell my clients in any conversation I have around just this human performance world, I say, you know what? Life is one big transition. We transition between moments. We transition between roles, from entrepreneur to husband, to father, whatever. Transition between seasons. If we start looking at that life through that lens, then it's all about, oh, I'm moving from this to that. All right, how do I get prepared? Oh, I'm moving from this to this. How do I get prepared? We're staying in the moment, and then all the other stuff can't get in the way because we're focused on what we can manage in that moment or in that role or in that season. And then we go, okay, got to make this transition. Got to make this transition. What's happening is we're not focused on this as a transition, and it's creating this like emotional residue we're just carrying it with us wherever we go. And next thing you know it, all these other things are forcing us to just hold on to it, hold on to it, hold on to it. And then all of a sudden, the whole saying about carrying baggage, well, that's where it comes from. Our minds can only take so much. And when they're overloaded, our brain goes into fight or flight, and then we're just completely off our rocker. Our nervous system's out of control. And then guess what happens? When our body is talking to our brain and our brain's talking to our body, and it's saying, there's multiple bears in front of you. You better run fast. That's pressure. This is my life. I better run hard and run fast. That's what this is really, that's what's really happened, John.
Well, the good thing is, as a coach, you never go through those transitions, right? Because you got it in the bag.
Oh,
Everything
I got
goes
figured out,
easily for
man.
you.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I got figured out. I got figured out.
So,
There's me and
I mean,
Jesus, baby.
I
It's
got to
me and
figure that's right.
Jesus.
Yeah, right there. Like 1A on the chart. No, but I mean, so we all experience that, and the good part about it, that from a vulnerability standpoint, is first when you can help folks become aware of that, and also recognize. You even touched on this as you look back to that 9-year-old story about that, not even thinking about how that's impacted you today. There are different things that you must use to become aware. So what are one or two habits you have to chase those bears so that you
Yeah.
can focus and stay present in the moment?
Yeah, I'm glad you loop back to that story of childhood because think about that moment. So that was a moment. That was a life moment. I had a transition. That coach in that moment, now I didn't even realize it at the time. I was freaking 9 or 10 years old, right? He helped me transition to my next moment. He helped me, and this is what I tell guys. I said, look, I don't like the term. I mean, you heard this as an athlete, control the controllables. You,
Hmm. Sure.
yeah, I heard it all the time. Well, then I did a lot more nerdy study on science, and I realized we have 37 trillion plus cells in our body all running at a time. If let's say we don't even believe in God, if you think you can control all 37 trillion cells in your body at one given time, call me, please. I need to meet you and have you on the show. If you do believe in God, which I'm assuming a lot of your listeners do, just
Hmm.
like you and me, we know that He is in full control. We never have full control. He has full control. So I don't like the control word. I like the manage word. And I know it's a cheesy play on words, but follow me for a minute. I say manage your manageables
Like that.
because just the word switch from control to manage takes pressure. Speaking of pressure, it takes pressure off me. I don't have to control everything. I could just manage it. And one way I help my clients do it, I do it all the time, is I talk about scan and respond. So I have this clutch recipe. Probably won't get into it today, but the first ingredient is manage, of course. And I talk about managing your mind, your heart, and your body. Okay. So the first part in that ingredient is the scan piece. So I always say scan from top to bottom, respond from bottom to top.
Mm.
Okay. So follow me. Mind's at the top, heart is in the middle, body's on the bottom. Okay. So I go, all right, what are your primary thoughts right now? Scan it. What's going on in your head? We're creating awareness. Okay. I know, and having had previous discussions with you and doing a podcast episode, for me, I know you know how important awareness is.
Hmm.
That creates awareness. Then I go down the heart. What are you feeling right now? And especially if you got a male, highly driven male leader listening to your show, we don't like the heart thing because it's
Mm.
soft. Oh, JR, here we're going to talk about feelings. Well, you know what? If you knew human performance science, you better know about your feelings because there's this thing called emotional regulation that controls how we respond physically, but we won't get into that wormhole. So, your heart, what am I feeling right now? So, we just took inventory on our mind. We scanned our heart. We took inventory on what we're feeling. Then it's as a result of what I'm thinking and feeling, how is my body responding?
Mm.
Am I sweating? Is my heart rate up? What am I like cramping? Like this is because here's the deal. If we know our heart rate's out, well, guess what we do when we start to respond? We go, oh shoot, my heart rate's really high right now. I'm about to go in an important meeting or important moment, or a switch from entrepreneur to husband or father mode, or spouse mode, whatever. Maybe I should slow my breathing down.
Mm.
Maybe I should respond. Maybe I should just go take a walk and just chill out for a couple minutes. Maybe I just need to sit in my car in the driveway before I open the front door and close my eyes. So we scanned our mind, heart, and body, and now we're going to respond bottom up. I always say leverage your body to affect your mind. See, a lot of men and this is how I grew up, John. especially as an athlete. Talk yourself out of your
Oh,
situation.
yeah.
Self-talk, 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 self-talk. And one of my mentors said this to me. He's in the energy psychology space. He said, JR, you can never think your way out of a problem. You have this body. Your body knows how to regulate your nervous system. Use it. So I always say respond with body first, because you're going to know if you did scan properly, you're going to know how your body responded, and then move back up to the heart. All right, in this next moment or in this next role, how do I want to feel? Well, I want to feel excited. I want to feel alive. I want to fill in your blank. And then what's my primary thought? So back to the mind. Now that I'm transitioning to that next thing, how do I want to think? So think about what we just did, John. We managed our mind, heart, and body by scanning first. Then we got our body in place to go to our next thing. We got our body under control, okay, in a better state of management. And then we're focused on a feeling. So again, our brain finds what we're looking for. So if we said we want to feel more joy, we're going to look for more joy instead of the guy who just cut me off on the road. And then we're going to have a saying or a phrase or something we want to think heading into that thing. If you execute on those, Jared, boy, that takes 10, 15 minutes. Actually, that takes some of my Major League Baseball players seconds between pitches. So if they could do it between pitches, your butts can do it in a couple of minutes between long day at work to I get to go home.
Hey, uncommon leaders. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I believe in doing business with people you like and trust and not just a company name. That's why a strong personal brand is essential, whether you're an entrepreneur or a leader within a company. Brand Builders Group, the folks who have been helping me refine my own personal brand, are offering a free consultation call with one of their expert brand strategists. They'll help you identify your uniqueness, craft a compelling story, and develop a step-by-step plan to elevate your impact. So head on over to CoachJohnGallagher.com/BBG, as in Brand Builders Group, to schedule your free call and take the first step toward building a personal brand that gets you noticed for all the right reasons. That's CoachJohnGallagher.com/BBG. Now, let's get back to the episode. And you talked about this, like there's so many things going through my mind as you say that too. There's a quote that my teacher told me. It says it's easier to act your way in a new way of thinking than it is to think your way in a new way of acting. Very much like what you talked about in terms of up and down. I love that. And I love the bottom up theory. That's the conscious part of it. You have to be conscious at the start. But what you're saying is that if we do that enough, right, it's hard at the start. It's just like exercise. We claim to be an athlete. We want to be an athlete in terms of how we feel. So we must go to the gym to turn into an athlete or a fit person. And it's so much work at the start, but it just becomes part of who you are. I've had a CEO that I coach. He said it's just a reflex. Like you don't think about picking the water bottle up and taking a drink.
Right.
It's just something you do. You are thirsty, therefore you pick up your cup to take a drink, or there's something in your throat. So you're going backward with that. You're not thinking about it for 2 minutes to say, should I take a drink or should I not? It moves from consciously aware to something to unconsciously aware of it. That's how the best athletes do it, because they don't have to think about it. It just becomes part of who they are. But we've got to practice it first.
100%. 100%. And John, we're a lot of leaders out there are missing this mind, heart, body connection. And if there's one thing your listeners today take away from our conversation, it's we have to connect these three items. We have to. That's just how God wired us. Yeah. He wired our minds, our hearts, and our bodies to all work together. Well, JR, how could you say that? All right, when you cry after an event, well, think about it. If an event happens, someone passes away, your mind goes, oh my gosh, this just happened. Well, guess what? Our heart, now we're feeling sad. What happens to our body? We start crying. That's our body's natural mechanism to deal with what we're thinking and feeling. We're crying to help actually calm our nervous system down. So that's what I'm saying. Let's not deny how God made us. Let's leverage how God made us to help us become better people, both in the moment, in our roles, and in key seasons of our lives.
So good. Mind, heart, body. Back up. Body, heart, mind. Starting to feel pressure. Palms will start to sweat. I'm able to say, well, I recognize that. I need to do something different. I need to take an action,
Mm-hmm.
do something different so that I'll feel different and ultimately be more successful. Love that. Mind, heart, body as you go through it. You got a story that of a person that you worked with that was really successful at it?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you asked this question. This week, I got to be careful how much of the story I give away because I don't want to give away my client.
Sure.
But he ended up becoming a player of the week this week in Major League Baseball, and you know, it's not his first year. He's been around the block. Had a rough season. Had an absolute rough season last year. Calls me in January. We go way back. He's like, I want to work with you. Okay, great. And I'm throwing out some of this stuff with him, thinking he's learned it. And he's like, no, I've never really done this like this. I've never really done this like this. Okay. Okay. So I basically shared with him the clutch recipe, I said, look, we're going to focus on the managed ingredient right now. Exactly. Everything we just talked about, John. And next thing you know it, he starts the season. I mean, he didn't make the opening day roster. Gets sent down to triple. Imagine this. Imagine
Wow.
this. You at one point where one of the hottest hitters in Major League Baseball don't make the opening day roster. Okay. Most guys talk about pressure. You have two kids. You have that's pressure, right?
Yeah.
I'm sticking to the process, sticking with the process, sticking with the process. He goes, starts his season in AAA, just blows it up, right? Gets sent up for a day, faces a pitcher, doesn't have his best game, gets sent down the next day. You want to talk about feeling it? Okay, but he's stuck with the process, stuck with the process. Hey, I'm gonna do these steps every single day. I'm gonna do it every day. I'm gonna do it when I'm playing. I'm gonna do it when I'm transitioning to father mode. Like he's doing it, John. And gets called up again. And the thing is, with Major League Baseball games, they're more available. So you're watching it. So I'm
Hmm.
watching this in real time. And he gets up to the plate, backs off, grabs his bat, he closes his eyes, he takes his breath. Like, no joke, man. You don't see players doing this correctly and in this order. And he's been doing it. He's been doing it. He's been doing it. He is the hottest hitter in baseball right now.
Hmm.
I'm watching it before my eyes with a guy who's believed in it, believed in the process, done the work. Like you said, it takes work. He's done the work. And now it's become second nature to where
Right.
he just goes in that thing and he is just smooth as can be. Yeah, it works.
You know, I love that story. Again, don't worry about who it is. Leaders, when you listen to that story, we work so hard to get to a certain level of success. And then we forget about what got us there to a certain point. Again, get
Mhm.
distracted again, walk away from that success. Oh, I got that down. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And the ball starts to roll back downhill again. And you're like, you got to get back to those habits, those disciplines that kept you there until they ultimately become just a reflex. I can't imagine the pride that you felt in watching that and seeing that breath and like, I know he's going through
Oh man.
the three steps up and down. I
I,
know he's going through it. It's the
you
mic
know,
drop moment. You're like, I'm done.
I just so proud of him because I saw a kid who just believed in the process. But I do have to mention something here, John. You just said it. Like we forgot what made us successful. We forgot what got us there.
Mhm.
That's identity.
Mm.
That is
Mm.
an identity play. And so much of the work I'm doing is identity-based performance work because again, whether it's becoming adults or becoming a CEO or becoming whatever, reaching the highest level in sports, I don't care what it is, we forget who we are and most importantly who we're becoming. And as soon as we lose that identity, everything. Do you want to talk about pressure? Because now pressure seeps in because we're so worried about what other people are saying and doing and what have you, that our identity goes out the window. And next thing you know it, how could we align our actions with our identity if we forgot who we are?
Mm. How do we forget? Why do we forget?
We get caught up in the wrong dang things, man. But honestly,
Distraction is there.
go
There, I mean,
go back to how we started this conversation. Again, JR, do you have all the research to back this up? No. I just have a lot of stories and I have my own story. You get so caught up in the gap between where you're at today and where you want to be that
mm,
when you're seeing things through the lens of failure or slow pace, that's where I feel like the identity's lost in a lot of times, is because we're too focused on the wrong things. And in this case, the gap.
there's something that I love using movies. Just, sound like Mr. Miyagi here. You paint the fence, man, and do it like this. Don't ask why at the start. Like as a coach, we have to do that sometimes until it becomes part of who they are. And like, oh, that's why you were doing that. Again, whether it's the coach when we were 9 years old, asking us to put the glove on the ground to catch a
Yeah.
ground ball, even though it might hit us in the chest, there's a reason.
I'm sure you have parents listening to this show too. I just had to go here with my son. So, 13-year-old son loves baseball, wants to, play in the big league someday. This is what he tells me. Back in we went to the World Series in 2021. And no joke, John, this was crazy. Like I did not expect this. So this same son was 10? Yeah, 10 years old. And the big screen, his big screens on the right in right center field in Houston. And he goes, Dad, you're going to see me on that billboard someday. I was like, what? Okay, let's go. All right, let's go, man. So interestingly, he's 13 and got invited to do this showcase type deal. Okay. So I knew what was about to happen. I knew he was going to show up. Kid hasn't hit puberty yet, playing with 14 and 15-year-old men. And again, 13 too is a vulnerable age in terms of identity and figuring out who they are. I mean, golly, I don't need to go into that. But constant conversation between him and I. Hey, bud. Hey, I just want to let you know why we're here. We're here to get your numbers. We're here to see where you're at. We're here to see what we need to improve on. We're here to see, like, it was constantly about him and his journey and nothing to do with who he was playing against.
Hmm.
So, like clockwork, we show up and there's a kid on his team, John, that just turned 14, that's 6'8", throwing 90 miles an hour. There's another kid on his team, 6'3", 230. And like you should have saw his eyes. His eyes went like this, right? Again, we had all the conversations we could have had week leading up to it. We got to the situation. We got on the field of play, and all of a sudden, all the monsters were there. All the giants were there. And I saw it. He goes in the dugout. I said, hey, man, hey, who are you right now? What do you mean, Dad? Who are you right now? Caleb. I said, how old are you? He goes, 13. I said, why are we here today? To learn some things. Okay. What's your main goal today? To figure out my numbers, figure out how I get better. Okay. All right. Go play. Isn't that a reminder of what we need to constantly do every single day? We have to bring ourselves back to who we are and who we're becoming. Because if we get sidetracked with that, we're going to cause misalignment. And you and I both know when a car's alignment is off, it doesn't go straight anymore.
The 6'8", 90
Oh
mile
my
an hour,
God. Oh my God.
13-year-old. What a metaphor for the things that we face as leaders, as parents, and all those things. And you touched on it. I'm going to get to kind of what we talked about a little bit before we hit record with regards to, the assessment that you have now that you're working on and the study you've been doing. You talked about that player who's not focused on the game when he needs to be on the game, but he's thinking about home and being a husband and being a father, all those things being very important. But
Right.
the mindset he's bringing home from the field to the home is keeping him from being present inside the home as well. What are some of those? You talk about this invisible four assessment that
Yeah.
helps folks go through that. What is that assessment, and what are those enemies that do that to us?
Oh, so you want me to give away all my secrets now, isn't that?
Oh, you
Well,
don't have to give me two of them, and then
no,
make folks
no.
go get the
Hey,
assessment from you.
our fearless leader, Rory Vaden, says give away your best content first.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer in that. So honestly, John, this is all, think about it. That the whole I just got done with work. You use the athlete analogy. I just went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, and I still need to go home to my wife and 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? That's a role transition. So yeah, I just noticed this thing both in my own journey and then with my athletes and then my executives. The transition from work to home is tough.
Mm.
It's really tough. And then, the constant stories of, gosh, JR, I can't turn those 4 at-bats off
Mm.
at home. I can't turn off work at home. Like I kept hearing this. So I went down a rabbit hole because I'm a nerd and did some study because I'm like, the term workaholism gets thrown around. And in fact, my own sister-in-law said this one day. We were at dinner. This was years ago. She's like, "You're a workaholic." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What are you talking? You just you you just called me what?" Like, and that was moment number one where I'm like, look in the mirror and go, "Why did she say this?" And it wasn't necessarily a reflection on me. It was a reflection on certain attributes we have as leaders and entrepreneurs and executives. So I did some digging, and John, it was like that moment where I'm like, and
Mm.
I realized there's these 4 things. I call them the 4 invisible opponents. We already talked about one of them: professional identity and self-worth. You want to talk about what's driving guys like us, highly driven leaders, to not shut off work and to constantly be on. It's the fact that, you know what? My role as an executive, that's who I am.
Mm.
Kind of like that singular role as an athlete. It's funny, my last game of college, I came off the field, I was bawling, John. And it's funny, my spicy Italian mom, who, yes, wrapped the cord around to the neighbor's house, she goes, because she knows I was ready to be done with college. Chicago boy in Iowa, it's a 5-year shelf life. And she goes, "Why are you crying? I thought you wanted to get out of here." And now I know why I was crying, because those athlete year, I had fractured my hip twice. I knew I
Mm.
was going to play professionally. Though my days as an athlete were over, and I didn't know I was having a crisis right there on the field. We wrap ourselves in our self-worth in our professional identity. The other invisible point, perfectionism.
Mm.
That quest for flawless execution. We've been driven as athletes to just go and hit the ball right here and make sure we do this and take that. Like, here's the form, flawless execution. And when it's not perfect, we gotta stay till it's right. The fear of underperformance.
Mm.
Oh God, well, if I don't answer this email or if I don't send this text message, I'm gonna lose the deal, and then I'm gonna, right. But then the flip side of that is the adrenaline rush of success.
Sure.
We win and we want to win more. So we keep pushing and we keep pushing and pushing, because, when we stack wins and big wins, now everyone's going to see us as a winner, as a champion. I have found that those 4 things that wreaked havoc in us as athletes are the same 4 things that are wreaking havoc as us as professionals.
Mm.
So I created the assessment to help, whoever takes it, figure out which one of those 4 are the biggest culprit in their lives. But then, to your question, like, what do we do? And John, it goes back to, all right, are you shutting down? Like, are you taking a time out to say, all right, you know what? Here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm feeling. Let me get my body right. Let's get my mind right, my heart right. and then start breaking down, okay, this is what happened today. This is what needs to happen tomorrow. Okay, I'm good. Time to go be a dad or time to go be a husband. That's the key. If we don't transition properly, those four opponents are going to keep wreaking havoc. And next thing you know it, our health goes out the window, our relationships go out the window, and yep, even our performance goes out the window.
Love that. And I appreciate you sharing it. You're right. Rory does talk about sharing everything. He also says people don't pay for information, they pay for transformation. And ultimately, that transformation is when they contact you afterward and say, I need help. Going back to a story that I often tell about, when you're not performing at the level, recognize you need help, recognize you need that coach to make that phone call to when you're 9 or 10 years old that you're not getting, and bringing that home. I appreciate you sharing it. And I will put a link in the show notes for folks to get in touch with you, which is next question. What is the best way for folks to connect with you, JR?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they want to take the assessment, just go to jamesreid.com, JAMESREID.com /assessment, and it'll lead them to the assessment. Once they take the assessment, they'll get obviously the results. They'll get me, showing which ones are wreaking havoc in their lives. And then I actually give them a copy of the white paper that I
Oh,
wrote.
great.
It's not a boring black and white 700-page white paper. No, it opens the door and puts a microscope on what the heck is going on. And really, it was my intention, John, just to show my audience and readers, it's not their fault. It really isn't their fault. It's just things they need to be aware of. So back to your, take action and then have impact. So go to take the assessment. They'll get everything there. They'll get my white paper. And then if they want to do some of the other free trainings that I got, that's up to them. Social media, I'm on all channels. It's just James and then JR Reed. So it's the same handle on all channels there.
Tell me
So,
about your podcast. You also host a podcast yourself. Tell me about that.
oh yeah, which you were a guest on. So
Yes, it was. It's
can't
grateful.
wait to can't wait to publish that bad boy. So yeah, have the Coming Up Clutch with JR show. We release an episode every week. We flip between having an interview and then I also have a segment, bi-weekly segment called the 5 minute drill, where I basically give a drill they can do around a certain topic that they can implement within 5 minutes. So
Love that.
it,
Love that.
it 5 minutes. People's like, why you call it the 5 minute drill? I had a coach, another coach. So there's two father figures I had in my life. One I shared with you as we started the segment, and then the second one was Coach Ayers, who I was just an average high school player. Average. He made me an elite in one
Mm.
summer. And one of the things he had was this 5 minute drill where he'd set up two cones and I had a shuffle between cones and he would hit ground balls to each cone. And it went on for 5 straight minutes, nonstop. First time I did that, I threw up. I
I bet.
hated it. I hated it, John. Okay. But then he did it again and I got better at it. And then he did it again and I got better at it. And then again. And then it was like, wait, 5 minutes is over. And it turned me into an elite infielder. So I'm like, that right there stuck with me for life. I want to pass that concept on to my listeners. So that's why I call it the 5 minute drill. So they can literally, it's going to help them become elite in whatever area we're talking about in that particular day. So
Love
that's the
that.
show.
I'll put the link there. I encourage folks to go listen. I just love listening more than anything else, listening to JR's voice, but he's got some great tips on both sides. The interviews that he does, as well as the 5 minute drill that comes out on Fridays. It's good stuff. JR, thank
Appreciate
you
it,
so
John.
much. I know you added value to the listeners of the Uncommon Leader podcast. I'm going to give you the last word here before we jump out with the question that I finish up with all my first time guests. And that's, I'm going to give you a billboard. You can put that thing anywhere you want to. What is the message you're going to put on that billboard to tell folks, and why do you put it on there?
Oh man. You know what, John? I hope this is on a billboard someday. I hope because it's really become my tagline, marching order, whatever you want to call it. It is winning isn't a result. It's a lifestyle.
Hmm.
That's the message. Again, it goes back to a lot of what we talked about. So many people are focused on the one result, winning the Super Bowl, winning the World Series, getting the big deal, becoming CEO, whatever, selling the business. And they realize once that is accomplished, I mean, we see this with a lot of stories after Super Bowl champions and they're going broke and their
Hmm.
alcoholism and all this, right? That they realize the rest of their life is in shambles. So the reason why I stand by that and I want it on a billboard is to remind people that you know what? Winning is about those wins, however big or small they are, in your relationships, in your health, in your finances, in your personal and professional development, in your community leadership, and on it goes. Whatever areas of life that you have, that winning is a lifestyle that you live day in and day out. It's not just this one event at one given time that comes with this particular status. It is a daily thing. And just because you didn't win in your career or your relationship that day doesn't mean you can't win in your finances or wherever else, that whatever other area you have in your life. So that's why I say I end every single one of my podcast episodes with this too, John. It's like winning, don't forget this. Winning isn't a result, it's a lifestyle. So if we keep that perspective, next thing you know, we are celebrating the wins more. We are getting the momentum we need. And that when we again have a loss in one area of life, it doesn't carry over to the other areas of our lives.
So cool. JR, thank you so much, man. I think the folks are going to love this, and I want you to share. I want the folks that are listening in to share this with somebody else who needs to hear it. No doubt about it. JR, I wish you the best going forward. Let's stay in touch. Us BBGers got to stay connected and close and keep winning, okay?
Hey, John, you're amazing, man. This podcast, the fact that it's called The Uncommon Leader, it says everything about you. You are an uncommon leader. So I honor you. I celebrate you for just giving people access to this medium, to this wisdom, to this knowledge that you're just projecting all over the world. So you're the best, man. It was an honor to be here. I'm just glad you could stand me for this long.
We did it, man. 2 hours worth. We did it. It's really cool. JR, thanks so much. Again, be well.